Hey guys, welcome to the channel. It's Jack with Stronghold Strength and Conditioning. And today, I'm showing you guys how to build strong and stable knees. But before we get into it, make sure you take a moment and hit that subscribe button so that you don't miss out on future content like this. Every Thursday, I'm putting out videos showing you how to resolve aches and pains, prevent injuries, and overall optimize your performance inside the gym and outside of it in your daily life and routine. And it really doesn't get much better than that. So go ahead and jump on it. Ready? Let's get into this one. Alright guys, the topic of today's video, how to build strong and stable knees. And when we look at the knee, let's kind of talk about the structure of it first of all to make sure that we have a good understanding of its build. That's a very important place to start. And we're not looking at mobilities today, and I have done videos on mobilities in the past, so I will link those down below on how to use mobilization for the knee and provide space at the joint so that it's functioned properly. But today's video is going to be a little bit different because we're focusing on the strength and stability around the knee and at the knee itself, which I'll talk about a little bit more here in a second. But first of all, when we look at the design of the knee, it's made for really three things that it should be able to do. Flexion, which is bending the knee back, heel toward the butt. Extension, fully straightening that leg. Or the third one, which doesn't get talked a lot about, is rotation, which is a little bit of the torsion effect that we want through the system of our leg that helps us create the stability that we're looking for at the knee. And the evidence of this is in the ACL and PCL themselves. So when we look at the ACL and the PCL, those ligaments are actually designed to tighten up on one another when we externally rotate our hip, which would be opening the knees away from one another on like a squat or a deadlift. Specifically when the hip is in flexion, that's going to be important that we are externally rotating at the hip, so that we are creating that torsion effect through the system of the leg. Now, torsion is also dependent upon friction. So the friction of our feet connecting to the ground, and that is one of the first places that we really need to begin. If we want a stable knee, we have to have mobile feet and ankles and mobile hips that are also strong and stable down below and above that knee. If we don't have a strong hip, or we have an unbalanced foot, a foot that is a poor base to work off of, then there's a good chance that that knee is going to be suffering because of it. So the knee usually doesn't have pain just because it's unstable in itself. It's usually coming from above or below that joint, and we need to look in those areas. So I'm going to do a little link above here, I'll put it right over here, that is linking to last week's video showing you how to build strong and stable feet. So that's our very base that we want to work off of. And the feet are important once again because they create friction for us to actually generate torsion, which is a rotational force. Think of a rag being wrung out, a wet rag being wrung out. That's torsion. So we have two forces. Here's our friction on one end, here's the friction on the other end, and that wrings out the towel. Here we have external rotation at the hip, and we have a friction from the foot gripping the floor, and that is the wringing out of the towel of our leg there. And that is what helps us have a strong, stable leg and knee, specifically controlling the alignment of it. When we don't have torsion, we see things like the knee cave, which is where there's bad alignment of the knee and imbalances of the musculature around the knee. And when we talk about stability, it's dependent upon the foot and the hip itself. So that's important to understand. I'll also put a video here linking to how to strengthen your hip specifically so that we have more stable knees in turn. And these are all body weight exercises that you could do to strengthen your hip with different variations and levels. So check that video out as well. So we got strong and stable feet, and we have strong and stable hips above that knee, and that is a place to begin with to make sure that we're not putting excess force on the knee when things are improperly working above and below. So that's where we want to start for stability overall. The stability comes above and below. The strength of the knee itself comes from the musculature that surrounds the joint. So in that case, we're looking at quadriceps, hamstrings, our calf tissues, and those tissues of the anterior compartment of the shin. So we've got basically 4 quadrants that we're going to strengthen, and that is going to be the bulk of today's video. I'm going to be showing you exercises today on how to strengthen those 4 areas and go from there, using those other videos as well, supplemental to this one, to help you build that stability part above and below. So make sure you do check out those other videos because they are crucial to this overall coming together here. But the strength of the knee today, we're going to be looking at a few exercises here, and we're going to dive into them right now. So let's get into it. All right, first we're going to be talking about knee extension here. So we're looking at those quadriceps. And this one is a very basic form of terminal extension of the knee. So what you want to pay attention to is the back of my knee and my heels. When I flex my quadriceps fully and engage them as tight as I can here, my back of my knee comes tight to the mat and my heels lift up off the mat. This is what shows you if you have terminal extension of that knee or not. And if you don't, it can be a control thing around the knee. It could be a mobility related thing, a spacing issue thing. But here we're looking at the ability to strengthen and activate those quadriceps to stabilize the knee from that anterior portion of our thigh there through a full flex. Next, we're going to progress the position with a band at the back of the knee coming to standing. And what I want to work on is that terminal extension from a standing position. So here I'm using the post to keep myself honest. Heels against the post, butt against the post, shoulder blades against the post. Tight quads, tight glutes, and strong upper back with the stomach engaged. So I'm focused on good alignment from the shoulder, the hip, the knee, the ankle, a straight line through everything there. What I want to do is let the ball of the foot roll up as I let the band pull my knee forward and then drive the foot back to the floor using the quadriceps, but also externally rotating at my hip to create full flex of the leg there. Next, we're going to test our extension from one more position here, and this is when the hip is in extension as well. So if you think about your walking or your running, it's very important that we're able to extend fully through that back leg also as we push off at the knee and stabilize the knee when the hip is in extension as well. So here we have the band at the back of the knee once again. I'm focused on planting my smaller toes. My hip is internally rotated in extension here, and that's an important key to keep in mind. Internal rotation when the hip is in extension versus flexion there. And the last variety I'm showing here is a Spanish squat. So we're going to take both legs into the band and walk back where we can keep our feet planted in a tripod foot. So first metatarsal, fifth metatarsal, and heel. Now the nice thing about the band here is that it tests both my knee extension but also my hip external rotation, because I'm pushing the band wide as I lower into the squat, and even as I stand back up I'm making sure that I'm keeping the band wide so that my knees aren't caving in toward one another. As I extend back up to full stand, I feel that resistance, my legs lock in, and my quadriceps are active in that full standing position with the glutes fully active as well. So we get a double bit of work here to make it a little bit more beneficial overall. All right, next we're going to look at the counterpart here on the back side of the leg, those hamstrings. So here we're doing an active to passive and to active again range of motion in flexion here. So you'll see me pick my heel up as far as I can, curling through my hamstrings to get that heel toward my butt as much as I'm able to, and then grabbing it, pulling it to the butt in passive range of motion, releasing it, and then actively controlling back down again. So that's why I say active, passive, active, because I'm curling up with a concentric portion there, and then we're eccentrically loading it from a higher range of motion. And I want to see how much I can maintain that passive range of motion as I lower the leg here. Now this is a challenging one. You might start to get some hamstring cramping going on. Focus on the concentric flex as those hamstrings start to try and actually tighten up on you. You want to flex a little bit tighter into it, and you'll find that this often will relieve the cramping that's going on. So flex tighter into the cramp and it will help versus just trying to dive right out of it right away. So give it a second. I know it's challenging, but see if you can actually control that, not let yourself tighten up against it, but actually control the musculature, take back control, and then slowly lower that leg back down with control again. Next is a heel elevated glute bridge. So we want our feet up on a bench, couch, coffee table, something at that height where our hips are at 90 degrees and our knees are at 90 degrees when we're laying on our back here. Roll the shoulder blades down and back. Get the abs engaged so you're pulling your low back toward the mat, and we always want to come back down with that mat flat on our back again. So we're controlling our pelvis in this position. Now normally when we do a glute bridge, first of all you should check if you can do this from the floor without your hamstrings engaging, because we do still want a big focus on the extension of the hip here, and the glutes are doing a large portion of the work. It is called the glute bridge for a reason. But when we elevate the feet and put our heels down as our base, that starts to emphasize the hamstrings a little bit more. So first of all, make sure you can do a glute bridge without feeling your hamstrings from the floor. And then when you elevate, just know that the hamstrings should be engaged. All right, our next one is a beast, the Nordic hamstring curl. So here I'm showing a negative version of it where I'm going to control my posture all the way as far as I can out. But if you need to begin at a little bit lower level here, first of all, just hold the position where the heels are pushing up against your base set up there. So if you just hold that top position, you're going to feel those hamstrings firing like crazy. And if you can start to lower and control the core with the glutes and abs engaged, that's a big part of this. So we're focused on that alignment, shoulder, hip, and knee in good alignment as we lower ourselves into that position. Gaining control here takes a lot of work. This is a tough one. And lastly, for those hamstrings, we're going to do a fully extended position. So I call this a supine full arch. Roll those shoulder blades down and back, get them deep underneath you, get the abs engaged, and then we're picking the butt up off the floor, focusing on the glutes. So even though this is a hamstring exercise here, because we need to be able to hold that straight line with the legs extended, we're also really focused on the glutes, keeping the hips stabilized in this position. All right, moving on to the lower quadrants of the legs, we're going to look at the anterior portion of the shin. Now this is a pretty straightforward one. Stand next to something that can help you balance, and we get good alignment here. So we want, first of all, quads engaged, glutes engaged, shoulder blades rolled down and back. And take the balance out of it at first, so hold on to something, and then we're raising the toes toward the shin as much as possible, and we're actually trying to actively splay the toes, spread the toes, as we pull those toes toward the shin here. You'll also get a little bit of pronation from the foot as you raise up into the heel if we're really truly splaying the toes in the way that we should. And you can see my big toes, that first metatarsal, almost angling toward the ground here. This is activating all that musculature along the anterior portion of the shin there. So without that splay and that little bit of pronation, we're not truly activating all that musculature. So it can't just be a raise straight toward the shin here. It needs to be a little bit of a splay as well at the ankle. And that was quick, I know, but now we're moving on to the posterior side of the calf here and the soleus. Those are going to be our main muscles that we're looking at the back side of the leg in the lower quadrant. So now we're going up into a full extension here. Once again, focusing on maintaining a straight line from the shoulder, hip, knee, and ankle, and raising up into the middle toe and even a little bit of supination toward the small toes as we press up here. It's full extension as possible in this position. Hold that top position, make sure that you've maxed out the height that you're able to get in that position, and then control your lower back down from there. Now, a lot of times when people do a calf raise or standing raise like this, you'll see that they have a malalignment. So we should look at the Achilles tendon here and kind of the medial and lateral malleoli, which are those bones at my ankles there. And it kind of lines up right down the middle. That's how we know we have a good alignment. You can see a little bit of that supination again as I roll up toward the middle of my foot. Once again, not all the way to the small toes, but the middle. And that is the alignment we want as we raise up here. Now this is mostly working gastrocnemius, the main muscle that's superior to the soleus here. So I'm going to show you guys how to get the soleus in our next exercise coming up. All right, and here we're going to be hitting the soleus. We're doing it from a seated position, same concept. So I can roll up a little bit toward the middle toes, slightly out toward those small toes, but not fully there. And if we need to load any of these up, you can hold a weight at the side. You can put your dumbbells on your knees, just above the knee there, and start lifting the weight that way. But this is where we want to begin to start to regain control around the ankle, around the knee, and get that back here. The last variety I'm going to show here is a elevated version of the calf raise. So once again, using my squat rack, you can use your steps at home. They work great for this, especially if they're carpeted. You want the ball of your foot to be on the steps so that your toes can grip the carpet, as well as that ball of the foot can grip the carpet when the heel drops below the step level. So here we're actively going to pull our heel down into that dorsiflexion of the ankle, and this is a key here. So we don't want gravity to just drop us down. We want to actively pull ourselves into that position from the front of the shin. So this kind of goes into our strengthening on both sides here, the calf in the back and that anterior compartment of the shin on the front side there. This is double leg here. We're going to take one leg out as well. And once again, if you need to add weight to this, you can, to strengthen a little bit further once you feel like you're a little bit beyond this at some point. Once you've gotten that strength, you can add the weight if you need to. Or I even do these with voodoo floss and use the strength benefits of blood flow restrictions. So if you're not familiar with voodoo floss, that's a technique you can use as well that really helps open up range of motion and mobility at this also, but still gives you that strength component. And lastly, when you put it all together, when you're done getting the stable feet, getting the stable hips, and working on that strength around the knee, you can start to play with fun stuff like this. So this is just me kind of showing off a little bit and looking at some of the things I've been working at. Now, it's not perfect by any means, but that is something that should show you the type of stability that your knees can have, and that is a big part of it. I want you guys to see what's possible when all the pieces and parts start to come together, when you can stabilize the hips, when the knees are stable, when you have the range of motion and flexibility that you should. It's really there. This wasn't a genetic thing. I had to work at it, trust me. All right, there you guys have it. And that's how we're gonna build strong, stable knees that are ultimately resilient and pretty much what you could call bulletproof, aside from getting a traumatic experience to the knee. So if we have good control at the foot, the hip, and then we have strength around the knee, your knees are gonna be good to go. And if you guys like this video, make sure you let me know by clicking that big thumbs up down below, and drop any questions down below in the comments. I will be happy to answer those for you. Share this one with a friend who struggles with any knee pains or injuries or anything like that. They've got a history with their knees. This is stuff you want to send their way. Like I said, I'm going to put all my knee beneficial videos linked down below in the description, so you can take advantage of those as well. I have a few showing mobilities around the knee and talking more about that whole system of the leg with stability of the hip and the foot and mobility of the foot. So all that stuff's going to be linked below, or I put those other links up here that you can kind of click on as well. Remember, at least look at how to build a strong and stable foot, and then the body weight strengthening hip exercises. Those are two that you do want to check out for sure to complete this video and make sure that you're putting it all together as a whole. And if you guys are looking to improve your overall mobility, make sure you take a moment to take advantage of my 7-day mobility training challenge. That's also linked down below in the description. It is 7 days, equipment-free mobility training, 15-minute sessions, and it's completely designed to help you guys basically go through a litmus test here from head to toe, giving you a systematic approach to mobility and teaching you a lot of the basics that we want in a mobility approach to improve the overall mobility. But it's also helping you identify missing ranges of motion, missing flexibility, and that overall control, that stability that's lacking, that we need to bring back in place. So take advantage of it. It's completely free, and you can sign up down below in the description and get started today. Lastly, before we go, if you guys have not already, make sure you take a moment and hit that subscribe button so that you don't miss out on future content like this. Every Thursday, I'm putting out videos showing you how to resolve the aches and pains, prevent the injuries, and overall optimize your performance in the gym and outside of it in your daily life and routine. And it really doesn't get much better than that. So take advantage of it. Welcome to the Stronghold Army. I'll see you guys next week.